All right, Nickel City Mafia, what is up? This is your boy Chris Caldwell here with my guy Jeremy. We're back talking some football. What's up, man?
Hey, what's going on? Excited. We got all the rookies on the teams, mostly of all signed, ready to go. Mini camp started. Most people have showed up.
I know there's a curious few, but anyway, NFL draft is in the rear view, so we were looking to that for so many months, doing our mock drafts and whatnot. Now we know what players have landed on what teams are making big investments in these young, exciting offensive players. And we're going to run through 24 of the most exciting rookie players and tell you a little bit how they're going to affect fantasy football maybe this year, maybe not till next year. That's the important part. We're going to get to all of that. But just a forewarning, I'm going to the US Open in 2 days. So I'm doing my fantasy golf draft right now at the same time. So if I seem distracted, I'll be back shortly. But anyway, Jeremy, let's get right to it. We're kind of going to go through this position by position. We got to start with the quarterbacks, right? Because this draft was really defined by the quarterback. The first three picks for quarterbacks, and then there was 5 in the first 12. So needless to say, huge fantasy impact right from the start of the NFL draft. Tell us about 101 right here.
Yeah. So favorite to win Rookie of the Year, heavy favorite, Caleb Williams. Um, I mean, I don't think there's ever been a rookie quarterback put into a situation like into this good of a situation where he's got 3 top wide receivers. I mean, he's got Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, and then they also drafted Rome Odunze, who in any other draft class he would have been the top wide receiver. So it's hard to think like he has everything he needs to succeed. So if he fails, it's not going to be great. But he's also a quarterback. He's got a huge arm and he runs. So anytime we see a running rookie quarterback, we want to take stabs at it and draft him. Especially, I mean, looking at like where he's going, he's probably going around, I don't know, 10 overall quarterback right now in like mocks and stuff for redraft.
Little rich for you for a
A
rookie. What
little,
do you think?
I think it's a little rich, but you're going to have people that'll jump on him, and you're going to have home leagues where no one's going to know what to do with them, and he's just going to fall. So I think it's something to look out for, and it's if he falls a little bit past that 10th overall quarterback, I think it's worth just the rushing side alone. We know that's like an easy way to get some good value on quarterbacks.
Yeah, you talked about a little bit about best situation ever, because most of the number 1 overall picks, they're going into a dumpster fire, right? And we can't expect anything from them as a rookie. I would go out on a limb and say Caleb Williams has to be one of the top ranked rookie quarterbacks for year 1, right? You nailed it. All that talent, plus he has a good tight end. He's got a solid running back who loves to catch the ball. I mean, wheels up, right? I mean, tell me a little bit about his positives and his negatives, heading into this season.
Yeah, well, I think I'll talk about the negatives first, real quick. Is just there's like rumors about him being like a little bit of a drama queen, I guess, or a little bit of a just a diva. Who knows if it's true or not. We'll see when the season comes around if the team's behind him, and we'll see what comes out of camp and what comes out of the preseason games. But I think that all aside, he's the talent is there. He's like you have he's smart. The situation's great. He's got a hell of an arm. It's just he's got everything he needs to be really good in the NFL. So I think like the kind of rumors going around about him is just best ignored until we hear otherwise. Like there's any truth behind him.
Yeah, totally agree. So what do you think about the player comps we threw in here? Kind of compared him to athletic Aaron Rodgers or Kyler Murray. He's a bit taller than Kyler, but same sort of play style, like, improvising almost too much. I put that as one of his downsides, right? He's overly off script. So that kind of reminds you of Kyler Murray. But what do you think about those comparisons? Which one do you think is more correct?
Yeah, I think Kyler Murray is a good comparison with the running. I think like being kind of off script is something that a lot of college quarterbacks like come from a situation where that they have to be that way. And it's just a matter of like them learning in the NFL level. They can't go off script like that because when that happens, they get hit hard. It's a much harder hitting league. So, and they learn quick or they don't last.
Yeah, agree. Yeah, Jake, I think you nailed it here. Best situation ever for a rookie QB. Um, I don't know about any rookie QB. I mean, you have some rookie QBs that are drafted mid to late first round that come into like a smash situation, but definitely the best situation ever for a top 1, 2, 3 overall pick. So, um, put it this way: Caleb Williams has no excuses.
Oh yeah, agreed.
Yeah. I'll throw out a little Baltimore comparison. Lamar Jackson's never had half as many weapons as Caleb Williams is going to have in his first year. So here we go. All right, next guy, and I'm going to let you do most of the talking here because this is your hometown hero. You're going to have
Let's
to tell
go.
me why Jaden Daniels is going to be the best quarterback in this class, not only in real life but also in fantasy football. What do you love about Jaden Daniels?
I mean, the guy's a winner, right? uh, no, his mobility is what the one thing I love the most. He's a huge rushing quarterback. That's also though definitely I would put in their injury risk because of his running. That's where like you can get a little worried. In college, he didn't do a great job getting out of bounds or like sliding. It's something that in the NFL you have to learn, or he'll go the way of RG3, unfortunately. But I think he's in a better situation than RG3 was in with new ownership, the new coaching staff. They want to do right by him. They want to make sure that they really build around him. He's got a great arm. I think he's going to make Terry McLaurin look really good. Um, and just anytime we see a quarterback that runs as much as he does, it's the floor is like so high for him for redrafts. Just like this season, I mean, and you're getting him probably around quarterback 11, 12 or something like that. And he could be a top 5 quarterback easy with the rushing. I mean, you're just guaranteed so many points every week just because you know he's going to run for it. And that's just the kind of quarterback he is.
I like the mix in with regular fantasy football. I'm with you on the McLaurin breakout.
Yeah.
Terry McLaurin's kind of been, screwed the last couple years, but the way I did put it on here. Deep
Yeah.
ball, 10 out of 10. Terry McLaurin, deep ball receiver. No one in this class throws a better deep ball than Jaden Daniels. And I think he instantly has a top 3 to 5 deep ball in the NFL. The thing is so pretty. He puts perfect touch on it. That is his I'll call it his number 1B trait to his legs. But
Yeah.
yeah, how do you like that comp with Robert Griffin? I didn't want to go too close to home with the Reds, the Commanders, but
Yeah.
it
No,
fit,
I
right?
think it's a good comp. Yeah, they both run a lot. I think he's going to be hopefully a better passer than RG3 was. And like I said, yeah, I think he's one of the things with Terry McLaurin too is McLaurin's never had a really good quarterback throwing the ball to him, and he's still done really well. So I think this could be a breakout year for him, and we might see like a little bit of a Dotson resurgence. People are like a little bit excited about McCaffrey, I think just because of his last name, Luke McCaffrey, but we'll see what happens there. But yeah, Jaden Daniels, I think he's just like if you wait on quarterback this year, he's the quarterback you need to grab later. Like there's like a big, like 6 or 7 ish top quarterback range, and after that, I want to wait and grab Jaden Daniels late, and maybe grab somebody else to go 2 quarterbacks late, and he's one of them. And you're taking a lotto ticket that can help you win your league.
Yeah, I agree. The rushing upside is undeniable, and we all know it's really hard to hit that high end top 3, top 4, top 5 quarterback if you don't have the ability to run for at least 3, 4, 500 yards in a year. And Jade Daniels is going to beat that by week 7. So
Yeah.
yeah, gonna be cool to watch. I will say my downside on Daniels, I wrote it over here. Number one, he's old. So naturally, when a 23-year-old is still in college, you're going to have a leg up on people. Number two, he has 2 wide receivers that we're going to talk about tonight. They both went in the first round. And so I'm not saying it's his fault, right? But when you have a supporting cast like that, it's easy to look good, right? So, yeah, you have Neighbors and Brian Thomas. It's easy to throw some deep ball touchdowns, but we'll see if it was him or them, right? Find out soon enough. All right, cool. All right, on to the next quarterback. Drake May, drafted third overall by New England. There was a lot of talk about this pick. What was New England going to do? They don't have a quarterback of the future on the roster. But there's a clear top two quarterbacks, and then you're kind of picking your flavor, or you know, um, there's some talk that McCarthy might go up here. I think Drake May is the most, people are most split on him. So I really want to hear what you think about his talents, his landing spot, and his fantasy impact, because I'm hearing two opposite sides of the spectrum here. What do you think?
So I live in New England, and people are very excited for Drake May up here. I can say that much. Also, a lot of people had him going number 2 to the Commanders. He was in that same tier as Jaden Daniels. People don't talk about he actually is a rusher, Drake May, so he will get some points with his legs. I think it's exciting for New England, right? Don't get me wrong, I'm not a Pats fan. They've won enough. They can chill for a little bit, but he's exciting to have there. He doesn't have a lot of weapons, unfortunately. They drafted Jalen Polk. They got Javon Baker.
Yeah.
We'll see if one of them emerges as a wide receiver 1. I actually like Pop Douglas a lot.
Man.
Yeah, Juju's done. Juju's so washed. Oh, man, he's over. But no, Drake May, I think we could see him maybe like the second half of the season. I don't think he starts. I think Jacoby Brissett is too good of like a kind of veteran quarterback to kind of get your team going, and Drake May can kind of sit for a bit, and then depending on how the season goes, maybe we see him like halfway through the season or something like that. And that's why I don't think he might go undrafted in a lot of redraft leagues for that reason, unless he's he blows everyone away in preseason and he gets named the starter. Then, like I said, I think he could be sneaky good for fantasy because he has rushing upside, which a lot of people don't talk about, but he did rush a decent amount.
Yeah, I put my player comp for him as a fancy Daniel Jones.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones low-key has rushing upside too, and Drake May is a better athlete than Daniel Jones. I will say on the flip side of fancy Daniel Jones, you have like dollar store Josh Allen. So I can see Drake May being compared to both. Same kind of like archetype of can run, but not really beating Jaden Daniels in a foot race kind of run, right? It's just always going to get that 30, 40, 50 yards a game. So I'm with you. I don't think Drake May is really draftable unless he gets named the starter in August, when I don't really think that's going to happen. I think Jacoby Brissett's there. You might see Drake May, after week 10, but probably not worth it. But I'm with you, man. With him, it's all about the tools, elite tools, big arm, accurate arm, can move. He's still young. He had really no supporting cast in college, so it was all on him. But I think he's the most bipolar QB prospect. I think he's either going to be a big hit, Josh Allen level hit, or he's going to be a Zach Wilson, Johnny Manziel type. It's going to be one or the other. That's just my personal opinion on him.
Yeah, I agree. And even if you look at Josh Allen, he had a horrible first year, but he rushed for enough yards that it didn't matter for fantasy purposes. And that we could see that happen with him. If he ends up getting some starting time, we could see him not look great year 1, but he gets enough rushing that we don't care. And maybe next year they get some better tools around him and he becomes a better quarterback. Who knows? I like Jake was saying he's a modern day Phillip Rivers. Yeah, I could see that with some more rushing. Phillip wasn't much of a runner at all. He looked like you or me up there trying to outrun some guys or something. But
I think there's another QB we're going to talk about in a person or two that I see a little bit Phillip Rivers in. So yeah, Phillip Rivers with a little bit more giddy up. I agree, Jake. All right, next guy. So JJ McCarthy, national champion JJ McCarthy. Probably. Do you think he's in a better situation than Caleb Williams? It's close.
I think they're both great situations. I think Caleb Williams just is a better talent, and that's why, and has the has the rushing upside, and that's why we're going to say he's in a better situation. But JJ McCarthy is very, very close. The coaching staff, the offense is very well geared toward a young quarterback. He's got Justin Jefferson to throw to, Jordan Addison there. Hawkinson is hurt, and they're saying he might not come back until like week 14 or something crazy. Who knows? Could be a long injury for him.
Mm-hmm.
But I just, and they picked up Aaron Jones in the offseason. So he's got him plus Ty Chandler to throw to as well. Check down. I mean, it's a great spot for him, and he doesn't have to start right away. They have Sam Darnold. Nobody thinks Sam Darnold is going to last like more than half the season at best. But just because this kid is sitting behind him is going to be so much better. And Sam Darnold, unless Sam Darnold comes out and like is amazing, which we've never seen from him, right? But no, I think
isn't Sam Darnold like 1 year older than Michael Penix?
Yeah, right. Oh my gosh. Yeah. Something like
Anyway,
that, man.
Anyway,
but yeah, he's a guy. Another one he probably is going to go undrafted and redraft just because he's not going to be the starter. I don't think. It's another situation where it probably doesn't make sense for them to start with him right away. They're probably going to. That's why they got Sam Darnold. They went out and got him, was to have someone to start until they felt comfortable putting JJ in. So, but it's someone to keep an eye on. And if you have a really deep bench in your redraft league, maybe stash him in hopes that he starts after a few weeks, or even after week 7 he's starting, and maybe he can help you win in the playoffs.
Yeah. You might have a little bit of a waiting game there, though. I think McCarthy versus Drake May, it's almost night and day in like NFL readiness to me. Even though McCarthy's only 21, I think his maturity is high. He has one loss in his career, right? He's just a gamer. I think he's more ready than some people give him credit for. He has that mobility, and he has the best wide receiver in football. I think he's going to see time this year before Drake May, personally. We comped him to Alex Smith. I think that just kind of nails it on the head. Leader, game manager extraordinaire, sneaky mobility, winner. So that's where we're at with him.
Yeah, agreed.
Cool. And I feel like 10th in the NFL draft was almost like a slip for him, right? I mean, some were thinking he would go third, if not third,
fourth or fifth,
fourth or fifth, right?
There were talks of trades. There was, he definitely slipped, and the Vikings were extremely happy to pull the trigger and say, awesome.
Yeah. Agree. All right. On to the next guy.
And this guy should have slipped in the draft.
Oh boy.
Everybody had him rated at least a second round pick. No one had him rated a first round pick.
So if you notice, we kind of put the quarterbacks in order of when they got drafted in the NFL draft, except we skipped one, right? We skipped Michael Penix, who went 8th overall. We don't feel that he'll be fantasy relevant in 2024 at all. Also, maybe not in 2025. He's behind Kirk Cousins. So Penix was kind of the shock of the top 10. Huge shock. I know there was a lot of betting markets out there that they had. The bet was either Penix or Bo Nix would go in the first round, even money.
Yep.
And they both went top 12. So that was like huge upset in terms of Vegas odds and whatnot. But anyway, we'll talk about Bo Nix. Now, Jake, you were talking earlier about Phillip Rivers. I think Bo Nix has a touch of Phillip Rivers in him. Game manager, accurate, close to the line of scrimmage, gamer. That's kind of what I see him as. I comped him to like a thrift store version of Drew Brees. Sean Payton drafted him, so I think he wants the same kind of attributes out of Bo Nix that he gets from Drew Brees. But Jeremy, tell me what you think about Bo Nix. Draft capital aside, let's forget about that for a minute. Will he be good in the NFL?
Who knows? I think it's a complete crapshoot with him. I think it's like a late round flyer guy. If you're in a super flex redraft league or a 2 quarterback redraft league, he's going to be a starting quarterback in the NFL. So take a chance on him and see what happens. You're getting him almost for free, probably. He's going so late. Um, and that's, that's why I said cheap to acquire, because I just think he's going to be cheap to get, and you never know what's going to happen. It's the NFL. He could come out and be the best quarterback in his class. Like, is that going to happen? Probably not, but you never know. And Denver, he doesn't have like horrible weapons to work with, right? He's got Sutton there, Marvin Mims.
You're not really
Dulcich is
convincing me
still
very
there.
quickly.
I know. I mean, Sutton, Marvin Mims, Dulcich is there. Sean Payton is getting cataract surgery, so he'll be able to actually read the play sheet this year. That might help. I know.
Oh man, it's crazy. So you compare Caleb Williams' weapons to Bo Nix's weapons, and it's wild, right? I
Yeah.
mean, I you almost feel for Bo Nix, overdrafted like crazy. You know, what is Denver thinking, right? I mean, they could have traded back without a doubt. They could have traded back, call it 5, 7, 8, 10 spots, and drafted Bo Nix
Yeah.
without even thinking about it. It's not even like there's zero sweat that drops off your brow. It's trading back 5 or 7 spots. You pick up a second rounder or something, and then you still get your guy. I don't know why they were so intent on staying right where they were. Do you think it was because the Michael Penix pick at 8, they were like, oh shit, quarterbacks are just being way overdrafted this year?
Definitely, 100%. I think that's what it was. And Jake saying this was the equivalent of the Vikes taking Christian Ponder in 2011. I agree. Yeah,
I like
I
that.
think
I
it's
like that.
that's a great way to put it. And it's if Penix hadn't gone, this would be the talk of the draft for everybody. It'd be like how early they pulled the trigger on Bo Nix, but because Penix went to the Falcons, who are paying Kirk Cousins a crap ton of money, he gets talked about, and Bo Nix kind of slipped under the radar a little bit there, which will probably help him, But we'll see with him. Like I said, I think he's worth a late round dart throw if you have a 2 quarterback league or a super flex league. Other than that, it's hard to imagine him being good this year.
Agree. All right, enough about this chump. All right, on to running backs. So this year's running back class, admittingly weak, right? I mean, it was nowhere near the running back classes of the last couple years, which really had a couple studs with Bijan, Travis Etienne, Jameer Gibbs, stuff like that. So our first drafted running back is towards the middle of the second round, and it's Jonathan Brooks, out of Texas, 20 years old. Tell me what you know about him and his fantasy impact year 1.
So I was high on him until today. I just saw a report from the Carolina coach today that he was asked like which players are not going to be ready for camp, and Jonathan Brooks was one of the players because he's coming off the ACL, so he's still rehabbing it. But people had said he was like way ahead of the process. He's going to be there for training camp. It's all it's going to be fine. So just kind of hearing that now, I was like, maybe I should knock him down a little bit. So I've been doing some best ball. I've been loading up on Jonathan Brooks because he's in the ideal situation where his only competition is Chuba Hubbard. Carolina, we think they're going to be a little bit more of a running team this year. And while he might not be good for the first half of the season, he might get amazing for the second half when you get to make that playoff run, and he could help you win a championship. And he still could be, but I'm starting to come a little bit down because I'm hearing about the injury, and we're hearing today the coach saying he's actually not. He's one of the players that's not ready to come into camp yet.
Yeah. So, I knew like not yet he wouldn't be ready, but
yeah,
I guess, what do you think? He's like 50-50 for training camp by like July or August.
Yeah.
I wrote in here, he would have easily been a first round pick if he didn't blow up his knee. So I think what we're saying is you have to be patient. If you draft him, if you're in a league with an IR spot, maybe you draft him knowing that you can stick him in there and kind of try to rely on him the second half of the year. He's going at running back 25 overall right now from what I'm seeing. That's a little rich for me for a running back that's almost definitely going to miss a part of the year or be ineffective for the part of the year. Don't forget now, the Panthers have Chuba Hubbard, who did very well the second half of last year. So I don't think they're necessarily in a hurry to move on from him. So While Brooks is extremely talented, he's very young. He has a ton of upside. He didn't really get to show it in college because of Bijan Robinson. But I think Jonathan Brooks is a great 2025 target or late 2024 target.
I gotta agree with the time for UFL football though. Chuba is mid. He's not like real competition. He's just he's just that. That's why I think Brooks could do extremely well. Now I don't think it's the best landing spot for him. Everybody was saying he was going to end up going to Dallas, and Dallas was like, "Nah, we'll just bring back Zeke. We don't care about the running back position." But like I said, I'm a little worried about the injury now because before everyone was saying he's going to be ready to go for camp and he's ahead of schedule. And just hearing like today from the coach that he's not going to be ready, so I'll knock him down in my rankings a little bit, but I still think he's somebody to keep an eye on, especially like a lot of home leagues. People aren't going to think to take him. He might fall a little bit, and he's great to have like as your running back 3 or 4. Somebody who can wait until he's good, and then you can start him.
What is it? So we have a question. What round pick can Spencer Brown get us?
Not big enough of a Bills fan on my end here.
Yeah, I'll pass. Okay, so next running back taken not till round 3. So continuing on that trend to it was the year of the wide receivers and the quarterbacks. So Trey Benson goes to the Cardinals in round 3. I don't know about you, man. I love the landing spot here. He's behind James Conner. James Conner, wily old vet. I think he's got about a year or 2 left in him. And I didn't put James Conner as a comp, but I think he's pretty damn close. And Trey Benson to me is just kind of like a juiced up version of James Conner. So tell me what you think about Trey Benson, the landing spot, and the talent.
Yeah, I think again, it's not like the most ideal situation because James Conner is the number 1 running back there. He's going to be. But we've seen that James Conner does get hurt throughout the year. He's older. It's a situation where Benson can take over that backfield. Again, it's a second half of the season type of situation. A lot of times we talk about these rookies coming into redraft season. We know that they're not going to be good for the first half of the season. You just have to assume the first like 7 games or so, they're not going to be good, but they can help you win at the end of the season. And he's a guy who can definitely do that. Arizona is going to have a good looking offense this year. They've really done everything they could to give Kyler Murray some weapons. I kind of have to agree with you. I just think the talent is there. It's a matter of will he get the starting time to like show us that he's talented.
Yeah, man. There's not many people 6 foot, 216 pounds that run under a 4.4. Guy can absolutely fly. And yeah, we'll see. I mean, I'm looking now at his average draft position. Fantasy Pros shows running back 31, which I think is just way too high for a handcuff running back. So yeah, exactly what you said, Jeremy. You have to draft him knowing that he's going to ride the bench in your fantasy league. But if James Conner were to go down, he has an extensive injury history. Trey Benson has a 3-down skill set, and he's going to be on a good offense. And I would say Trey Benson is probably a top 5 handcuff running back in the NFL. Agree?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
Cool. Let me see here. All right. People in the chat, they're just yapping about Ray Davis. The third string running back for the Bills. So
I mean, he's a great grab late because who knows what the Bills will do with we thought they were going to love James Cook, and then like he finally had a good year last year. This year I could bet that they decided to split it between James Cook and Ray. Who knows, honestly. But Ray Davis has talent. He could be something. But I think he'll be a waiver wire, bro. That's what's going to happen. He's going to be if Cook comes out and they're like, we're going to split the backfield with Cook and Ray Davis, or Ray Davis is the goal line back or something, if it's something like that. But the goal line back for the Bills is Josh Allen. Everybody knows this. But if that happens, then Ray Davis will be like the waiver wire pickup of the season and everyone will be crazy. Yeah.
I'm just saying
he's talented.
Don't the Bills have my Maryland alma mater, Ty Johnson, as well. Everyone's just forgetting about Ty Johnson. Let's go. Just everyone's
Yeah,
just
poor Ty
handing it to
Johnson.
Ray Davis like Ty Johnson isn't the GOAT. Crazy. Anyway. All right. On to the next guy. And I will say, sometimes I feel like people think Blake Corum is RB1 in this class. I don't know. You see such a wide variety of, I guess, takes, thoughts, strong positions on Blake Corum. I've seen him go really early in the second round of rookie drafts, and I've seen him fall to the back end of the second. I don't own any Blake Corum in any of my 9, 10 fantasy leagues. I've kind of done a hard pass on him because I don't believe that you let Kyron Williams have the year he had last year and then have a full blown committee. The Rams are not known for having committees. Sean McVay never uses a committee. And Kyron Williams, when on the football field, was a top 3 running back in the NFL. So I don't see the hype for Blake Corum, but I want you to tell me why I'm wrong.
So Kyron's having his foot trouble again already.
He's already back on the
they've
field.
come out and said it.
I know.
But they literally came out and said he's having foot issues. So I don't know. I think they need someone like they spent draft capital on him. I think because they knew Kyron probably can't last the whole season, being 100% healthy. So that's where I think Blake Corum's going to get his chance. I've been taking him in best ball a decent amount, just because I agree with you with Sean McVay. He likes to ride the one running back. I think that'll happen. But anything happens to Kyron, Blake Corum is right there to step in the hole and just take over.
So I'll give you that, and so I'll guess talk about Trey Benson versus Blake Corum. Who would you rather draft as a handcuff, or who would you rather draft in 2024 only?
I'd rather go. I think Trey Benson here, but I think Corum is closer than people think. Like I think Corum is not too far away from Benson. But we'll know more. It's still early. We'll know more as the season gets going. The preseason.
It's always interesting when a team drafts a running back. Usually they go one of two ways, right? You either draft a running back that has kind of like a polar opposite skill set from your starter, or you draft one with the identical skill set and he's there to pick up where the other one left off. I'm not sure there's a closer human in the world to Kyron Williams than Blake Corum. They are literally the same exact skill set, same person. Kyron's probably a little bit better of a pass catcher. Blake Corum's probably a little bit better of a natural runner between the tackles. But other than that, I mean, they actually a little bit look alike. I mean, I don't know. That was pretty wild. So yeah. But yeah, the negatives are there, just like we wrote on here. Not super athletic, 0 long speed. He's old and he's the backup. But yeah, I mean, I don't know, man. I'm so lukewarm on him. I even put like a lukewarm player comp. He's Zach Moss, man. He's just like mid all the way. So
yeah, I have Clyde Edwards-Helaire for him. So it's like,
yeah,
we'll see.
It's fair.
We'll see, but you're right. It's just that this running back class isn't like the most exciting class for redraft purposes.
Agree. All right, so I think we'll talk about one more, maybe 2 more, and then we'll get off these boring running backs and we'll get into the hard-hitting wide receivers that are absolutely going to crush this year. Okay, so let me just peek real quick just to see where we're at. 2 more running backs. All right, we'll go through them quick. All right, so next up, Marshawn Lloyd. So Marshawn Lloyd goes to Green Bay in the end of the 3rd round, and landing spot is kind of suspect, right? Green Bay doesn't run the ball a ton, and they just gave Josh Jacobs a huge bag, a 4-year contract. So talk to me about Marshawn Lloyd, because some thought that he's kind of like the most talented, highest ceiling guy in the class. 3-down skill set. I comped him to like a big DeAndre Swift. what's his downsides and what are his what's his outlook on fantasy this year?
So he is like an older back, right? He's 23. So that's kind of going against him a little bit there. I do think there's like a chance it could be a split backfield in Green Bay. Um, and yeah, it is Jake's right. It's brutal being stuck behind Josh Jacobs. But also I think they have like an out in Jacobs' contract after 2 years or something like that, if I remember reading. So there is opportunity there for him. But I think what's really going to happen is just we're going to have to wait and see if it's really a split backfield there, because I feel like they've been kind of saying it was going to be, and then we never saw AJ Dillon ever do anything. But he's a little different from AJ Dillon, so I think we'll kind of see how it goes there. I'm not like in redraft. You're probably not drafting him unless you have a deep bench where you can just stash him. Unless we see something in the preseason where they say like, "Hey, it's going to be a joint backfield. We're going to split this." That's the only time I would think he's draftable until we learn that.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, there's just too many unknowns here. You have AJ Dillon brought back on a 1 year deal, so you might even be looking at an RB3 here. He is a touch raw, even though he's so old, and he has huge fumbling problems. If I saw this correctly, I think he had like 11 or 12 fumbles last year. So big problem to solve there. At the NFL level, if you put the ball on the ground more than 2 or 3 times, you're in most coaches' doghouse. So, guys got some hurdles to overcome, but big time talent, as you can see by his over 7 yards per carry last year. But I agree, Jeremy. This is a total, do not draft but kind of have him starred, right? And if you see Jacobs get hurt, I think Lloyd could really go off.
Yeah.
Okay. Next up, and we're into the 4th round running backs now. We have Jalen Wright, drafted, yet another track star athlete drafted to the Miami Dolphins. Tell me a little bit about Jalen Wright.
So Mike McDaniel went for Jalen Wright because he likes his speed. He likes the big play ability with this guy. And that's where I think he becomes interesting, because Mike McDaniel, who knows what he's going to do? I could see him drawing up plays just for Jalen Wright. He does that kind of stuff with his players, where he has plays for that specific player. They also, we know Mostart's there. We know A-Chain is a beast, and he's going to go crazy. But we also know both those players had injury issues last year. So if either one of those players goes down, Jalen Wright is right there to step into the spot. He's the guy who I do think I will probably be snagging at the end of my draft this year for redraft purpose, and just kind of hope he does end up being that bomb a little bit later. And Miami, they decide to use him a lot.
Yeah, Jake's right. Whole backfield is loaded with track stars. I put Jalen Wright's comp as Raheem Mostert.
Right.
I think if you play dynasty football, I am salivating at the opportunity to get Jalen Wright, because I think that they are setting this up for 2025, and Mostert is going to play out this year, either until he gets hurt, or if he makes it through this year. I think the sun is set on him. People forget
they signed him though.
What?
They did sign Raheem Mostert through 25. I'm not just saying they did. They did work a deal.
He's like 32, 33 years old.
I know.
And he has a super long injury career. Yeah, he started his career with the Ravens, so I know all about him. But yeah, I mean, he was great. He had 20 touchdowns last year, or close to it.
Yeah,
a ton. And no knock on Mostert. I just think they drafted his clone, preparing for next year to either cut him and save money or just move on. So dynasty players, get Jalen Wright. I think you want every piece of that Miami team that you can get. And this is going to be one of their 2 running backs next year with A-Chain. So get on that while you still can, before he plays any games in the NFL. Oh, we have one more. Gosh, I thought we were done with running backs. All right.
No, this is my fault. I wanted to add this guy in because I like this guy.
This is
I like Vidal. I think the opportunity is there. He's going up against your former Ravens, J.K. Dobbins, who he might not even play until like the last third of the year or something. He's still recovering. And then he's got Gus the Bus, who I do think, Gus will be the starter probably, but I could see Vidal could take over and Gus could do the goal line work. Vidal's getting a lot more of the other work. Gus is older. I just think like the opportunity for him is right there. Now, does he have the talent? Is he going to work out for him? Who knows? That's where it's like we're going to have to wait and see. But I just think with the opportunity is too good because he doesn't have great competition. And when you see a spot like that where it's kind of like an ambiguous backfield, I like to take chances. And taking a chance on Vidal doesn't cost you very much in redraft or even in Dynasty. It doesn't cost you too much. So I've been gobbling him up in my Dynasty shares just on the off chance that he ends up being the number one for the Chargers. And we know Harbaugh likes to run the ball, right?
Guess who else likes to run the ball? Greg Roman.
Yeah,
So
that's what I was saying. We know it's going to
Harbaugh and
happen.
Roman.
Yeah.
Poor Justin Herbert, man. Justin Herbert is like, oh boy. Big talent that's only going to throw the ball, 22 times a game now.
He's got nobody to throw it to.
Yeah. So the scouting report is the scouting report on Vidal is we don't actually care. We know that Greg Roman is the offensive coordinator, and the folks in front of him are average at best. They're little. Gus is older, so who knows? Running back in the NFL, you just need opportunity, and I think Vidal has a shot at it. So good call in wanting to talk about him. Okay, on to the fun part of the show. This year was the year of wide receivers, and no wide receiver was talked about more in the last 2 to 3 years than Marvin Harrison Jr. Excellent draft capital, number 4 overall, goes to a good system, a good quarterback. Tell me about Marvin Harrison Jr. and where would you draft him in 2024 fantasy football leagues?
So right now in best ball, he's going like the end of the first round, which is I think already at his ceiling. He's going a little high for me. I get it. I get the hype. He gets the best landing spot. The talent is there, the pedigree. I like the comps you have there: AJ Green, Devontae Adams. I've seen a comp to CeeDee Lamb, Julio Jones as well. I mean, he's just going to be another one of these wide receivers, like Jamar Chase when he came out, where we know he's going to crush it. He's just a safe pick to just do extremely well. My only problem is where he's getting drafted right now. Like I said, in kind of into the first, beginning of the second round. I think that's like his ceiling of the best he can do this year. But I can't hate you for taking him because he could be that good. He could be a top 5 wide receiver this year.
Yeah. There is a 0% chance I'm drafting Harrison as my first overall pick in a fantasy draft this year. It's not happening. And second round, honestly, still too rich for me. I mean, I get it. He's one of the best prospects in years. But I just don't think I can do it. I mean, I don't know, man. It's just he's a prototypical number 1. I get all that, but I just have a hard time seeing, him being, I don't know. What is his target share this year? I mean, is he getting 150 targets?
He's getting a lot. I think he's going to be playing the outside. They've got Trey McBride to go kind of over the middle situations. He's going to play the outside and win on the outside. And he's just going to get, I think he's guaranteed, 20 to 25% target share in that offense. I'm okay if you want to take him at the end of the first, beginning of the second, because he's going to be fun to watch, right? Part of fantasy, part of redraft is having players on your team that are fun to watch and fun to root for. And he's going to be one of those guys that all year we're going to be seeing highlights and talking about him. So that's kind of my vibe with him for redraft this season is if you want to hopefully at least the second, I would probably not take him in the first. I don't think I would anywhere take him in the first, but in the second, I'm okay with it because it's fun.
Give me 2 not rookie receivers that are going give me the one going right before him and the one going right after him so I can see or just not perfectly, but just roughly.
Yeah. Drake London always goes right around him pretty much. I would say, I'm trying to think, Drake London, Garrett Wilson go right around him every time. And then It's usually like Olave after.
Okay, now see when you say it that way, rather than like Marvin Harrison's going in the first round, I can kind of see, right? Because Drake London's never even been a wide receiver two in his first 2 years, right? Olave, I think, is probably a safer bet. And Garrett Wilson probably has, yeah, about a similar upside as Marvin Harrison. So you've now convinced me that
Yeah,
Marvin Harrison is a good pick in the early second round. So,
yeah.
okay,
I
fair enough.
think it's doable there. And then we get to the other number one pick in this draft as far as wide receivers go. Coming up next, yeah,
This is the guy that I don't know. I think I'll call him like the funnest wide receiver to watch, at least for me. Um,
yeah, he's a big play
man,
guy.
if you're ever want to get fired up and watch some fun plays, look at Malik Neighbors play football. This guy just Harrison's the most polished and pro ready. Malik Neighbors probably not super polished. He is just backyard football extraordinaire. He moves in ways that should barely be possible. You threw in the OBJ comp. I totally see that, and the way he can
Yep.
contort his
LSU.
body. Yep. But the person that he just reminds me the most of, in the way that he's twitchy and can get off the line and just make cornerbacks completely disappear off the page, is Antonio Brown. He just has that suddenness about him, where Antonio Brown wasn't necessarily, he didn't just beat people deep. He always had that nuance and the outstanding feet, and just super twitchy and fun to watch run routes. So tell me a little bit more about Neighbors.
Yeah, I love Neighbors. I think he's going to be amazing this year. The only big we'd be talking about him in the same spot as Marvin Harrison if he'd had a better landing spot. That's the only red flag. He goes to New York. Everybody was hoping he would go to a better situation. The one thing about New York though is they have nobody else. There's literally they're not going to throw to Devin Singletary all the time. They're not, they don't really have anyone else to throw to that's
Jalen
anywhere
Hyatt from
near.
last
Yeah,
year's draft. Yeah.
no one's near the talent that Neighbors has. So he's going to get a giant share of the offense. And that's what you're betting on with him. And I think where he's going kind of third round, sometimes he falls to the fourth round of redraft right now. It's another one of those guys where in your home leagues, he might fall even a little bit further. And at that price, I'll grab him and hope he has Odell Beckham year. Hope he has Jamar Chase, rookie season where he just goes off and is crazy, because he could do it. Absolutely. I mean, the Giants, we think they're not going to be great again. So they're going to have to throw a lot, we think. And he's just the guy they're going to be throwing to. Teams are going to try to guard him, and he's just going to get open. He's going to make plays. He is the guy, and I think he's going to be really good.
Agree, man. I think he, in a lot of dynasty leagues, and I watch a lot of, tape on rookies, and Neighbors is just the funnest to watch by far. Just super, super cool after the catch. All right. Well, move on to the next one. So we had 3 wide receivers drafted in the top 10 this year. The third being Rome Odunze, played the national championship game this year. Drafted 9 overall, will be paired with Caleb Williams. A lot of rumors, I guess, maybe not rumors, facts that Odunze and Caleb Williams were doing a lot of hanging out before the draft, traveling together, working out together, training together. So this was probably a request of Caleb Williams to draft Rome Odunze. But tell me a little bit about what the Bears got with Rome Odunze.
So in just about any other draft class, he would have been the number 1 wide receiver. But because Neighbors and Harrison are here, he's kind of like the 1C almost. He's just like one of the best route runners. His hands are amazing. He's going to be great. The only problem is he's the third wide receiver on that team. He's playing behind Keenan Allen. He's playing behind DJ Moore. Now, Keenan Allen, we know, is not always great at being healthy for the full season. So there's a chance for him to get opportunity. But additionally, a lot of times we see with a rookie quarterback, it's hard to see those wide receivers reach like their peak with a rookie quarterback, especially when he's got so many different options to throw it around to. So for fantasy purposes, for like redraft this year, it's going to be hard for me to take him on my teams unless he falls really late, where he's like your wide receiver 5 or something, or you can stash him on your bench and see if he breaks out. But the talent is there, and I think we're going to see him do really, really well in the future.
Yes, I'm seeing now he's going in like a top end wide receiver 4 range, which is probably a touch too rich from what you were
Yeah.
just saying. That means he would kind of have to be in a flex spot on your team. And like you said, with all the competition with the rookie quarterback, I don't know if he can really return on that investment right away.
He's going around a couple of the other guys we're going to talk about here, the Lad McConkeys, the Kean Colemans. He's going like in that kind of tier, I think, sometimes. And for me, like I'd rather have the other guys. I just think there's way more opportunity there. He's even going around Worthy sometimes, I've seen, and I'd rather have Worthy and some of these other guys we're going to talk about in a bit.
Interesting. So the way I feel about that depth chart is I feel like DJ Moore is still the alpha there. I mean, he had an amazing year last year. He's
Yeah.
in the prime of his career. He's what, like 26 years old. And you know, Keenan Allen's kind of the wily veteran slot guy.
He's the slot guy, yeah.
So do you think there is a chance that Rome Odunze? You think that the chance that Rome really is the number 2, or there's just no way that he out targets either DJ Moore or Keenan Allen?
I think Keenan Allen is just a target hog. He gets, I mean, if you look at him with the Chargers, he gets so many targets. He gets open. He gets these quick little passes. He makes stuff happen with it. I think it's going to be really hard for him to play himself into this offense, but we could be wrong. Maybe Caleb has this special connection with them and he ends up being, they do a lot of 3 wide receiver sets. He's out there a lot. I don't really know. I just think him, like I said, if I almost feel like any other situation in the NFL would have been better for him. Like it's a similar situation to JSN last year, where JSN went to Seattle and he was a little bit buried in the depth chart there. I think he'll get more usage in Chicago than JSN got in Seattle. I just think because Keenan Allen has the slot kind of locked up, we could see Rome Odunze more on the outside, and we could see him getting used a little bit more. But like I said, it's just opportunity wise, I'd rather have the other guys around him.
Yeah, fair enough there. Yeah, just really unfortunate, and it kind of makes you wonder if Chicago was kind of dead set on taking a receiver, you know, maybe in the first round or in the second round. The signing of Keenan Allen, or I don't know if they traded for him or signed him, but that just really makes you wonder, right? I mean, you have DJ Moore and Odunze would have been plenty. You have Cole Kmet as well. You have DeAndre Swift. I mean, that's still plenty of weaponry for your rookie quarterback. I feel like they're almost too crowded now, where someone's going to go without, and it's going to be awkward. I don't know.
Yeah, probably going to be Rome.
Yeah, probably.
We'll see.
All right, so we're passing on Rome in redraft this year. Sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay, on to a guy drafted a little bit later in the first round, but will have more opportunity than Rome Odunze. Brian Thomas Jr., the wide receiver 2 to Malik Neighbors at LSU this year, working with Jaden Daniels. Tell me about Brian Thomas.
I think young and learning is a good way to talk about it. He's got talent, but he still just needs to learn. He needs some training. He needs some hands-on work, but he can get there. He can be a number 1, and he falls into actually, I think, a really good situation with the Jags, because they've lost Calvin Ridley, who would be kind of the number 1 in that situation. They still have Christian Kirk, but Christian Kirk is kind of not really that guy. He's not really that X factor guy. Brian Thomas can step into that role. Yeah. And Gabe Davis, he is kind of like the go deep kind of guy, but
he's a Z. Yeah.
He's also not, the talent isn't quite as there as it is with Brian Thomas Jr. I will say though, like some of the comps, a lot of people have thrown out Quentin Johnson, which is not a great comp because we've seen him just the talent not be there for the Chargers. And he's a similar situation where he's a big guy, he's an X guy. The talent could be there. He could end up being a Torrey Smith. He could end up being the guy going deep, catching these balls and going crazy, or he could end up being nothing. So there's definitely risk with him, but it's a risk I want to take because I think he could be the number one on that team.
Yeah, man, the traits are definitely there, and the production was there. Not many people in this world are 6'3", 210 pounds, and run 4.33. Just an absolute 10 out of 10 athlete. Now paired with Trevor Lawrence and immediate opportunity. So if he can adapt to the NFL, and not look nearly as raw as Quentin Johnston did last year, I think there's pretty big upside in 2024 for Brian Thomas. I really like the player, really like the landing spot. So I'm in on him this year. All right. Next up, we have record-setting Xavier Worthy, who is now the fastest man in the history of the NFL. Xavier Worthy broke the record for the 40-yard dash at the NFL Combine, running a 4.21. Now, does that change the way you think about Xavier Worthy? Is he the next coming of Tyreek Hill? The Chiefs traded up in the first round and they drafted him. What should we expect?
The Bills passed on Xavier Worthy to trade back. People couldn't believe it.
We could do a case study on the Bills draft. Wow. I actually kind of loved it. It was very entertaining at the least. But, I respect it. They had a plan. They stuck to it. I feel like just sticking and picking the best receiver is what the entire world and every fantasy player wanted them to do. But they obviously weren't in on those players. If they wanted Xavier Worthy, if they wanted Leggett, if they wanted Ricky Pearsall, they would have taken them, and they didn't. So I don't really see a problem with it personally.
I'm with Bill's fan here, though. He's commenting saying we love gifting the Chiefs. I feel like if it was any other team, it wouldn't have been as big a deal. But to trade with the Chiefs and the Chiefs to take the fastest guy in the draft does seem like a little bit of a shooting your own.
Hold on a minute. Now, what if you gifted the Chiefs John Ross? Right? I mean, that's essentially. I didn't put John Ross as a comp because I think Xavier Worthy is a different type of player than John Ross, but I think that's kind of the mold he's in, right? I will say this: if Xavier Worthy ran a 4.35, not a 4.21, he's probably a third round draft pick, right? I mean,
I think he's still going in like the second, but yeah, because he was really good for Texas. He was playing alongside AD Mitchell. And I think it's interesting. His comp comes to Marquise Brown, who the Chiefs also grabbed. They're two very kind of similar skill set players, kind of smaller players. I think you can kind of also compare him to Tank Dell a little bit, another kind of smaller wide receiver, but Tank Dell had, I think, better numbers against press coverage and stuff. And he doesn't do quite as well there, but his opportunity is huge. He gets to play with Mahomes, with the wide receiver core that Marquise Brown, who just came in as well. That's all they have. It's those two. And then, the whatever guys are still kicking around.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think a lot of Worthy's FY24 outcomes depend on Rashee Rice, right? I think every game that Rashee Rice is allowed to play, he's the wide receiver. I'll say he's the target number 2. Travis Kelce is still there, right? And then I think that Hollywood Brown, who got a pretty nice deal for 1 year, I want to say it was like 1 year, $8 million or something like that. Mm-hmm. I don't know that Xavier Worthy's just coming in and, pushing aside Hollywood Brown. So if you're talking the third option at best, probably the fourth option, I don't really, even though that is the Chiefs, I don't really want to be connected to you and for fantasy football. I mean, I think this is like the McCole Hardman role, but obviously a better prospect than McCole Hardman. But I think that's what you're looking at, where you're getting, 3, 4, boom or bust targets a game. That's just kind of where I'm at with it right now.
We'll see that they spent a first round capital on him, so I'm all for drafting him and hoping he is a wide receiver 1 this year or 2. I just think with that opportunity, you have to kind of hope he's Tyreek Hill, right? That's his ceiling is like Tyreek Hill with the Chiefs. That's his ceiling. And yeah, his floor could be bad but also Rashee Rice, if we learn he is suspended half the season, then immediately Worthy is the number 2 there. Or 3
number
if you
3,
count
number
Travis
3.
Kelce. Sorry.
Yeah. That's
they've also said Travis Kelce. They're like, he's older. We're not going to use him as much. Of course, they say that, and then Kelsey's like, put me in the freaking game.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Okay. Lukewarm on Xavier Worthy. I think there's receivers that went after him that I'm a little bit more excited about. Leave it at that. This is not one of them. So, so Ricky Pearsall, I'll tell you what, man, this was probably one of the more upsetting picks of the NFL draft for me, because
you wanted him to go somewhere else.
I wanted him to go. Okay. It just puts my brain in a pretzel, right? Because love the player, love him, love the landing spot, but only if they were to get rid of Debo or Ayuk. So, man, I was just so ready for Pearsall to fall into a place where he could just instantly be the number 2, because just absolutely think he's going to crush. But the 49ers can barely support 3 pass catchers because they also have McCaffrey, right? So you have McCaffrey, you have 2 wide receivers, and you have Kittle. Pearsall doesn't stand a chance in hell unless one of the receivers is traded. So I'm just crossing my fingers and hoping one of them gets shipped out of town and Pearsall can start in 2 wide receiver sets, because love this guy. I want to hear if you're as high on him as I am.
Yeah. So since before the draft and even like recently, there are still rumors that the Steelers really want either Ayuk or Debo.
Yeah.
That's the rumor going around. We'll see if anything happens. If it does, Pearsall instantly becomes one of the top rookies in this class. I still think they spent such high draft capital on him, which no one saw him going that early. Mm-hmm. I still think it means we're going to see him get play scripted into the game, but it won't be enough to be fantasy relevant as long as Debo, Ayuk are both there. But I think we'll see him get playing time. We'll see him get targets, but not enough where you're going to be able to start him unless we see an injury happen or we see one of them get traded, like we talked about. But he's really explosive. He's that kind of playmaker guy who, it's kind of funny. He can kind of run around like Debo does a little bit almost, So I'm curious to see what happens. And yeah, I think it's going to be one of those things where if we see Ayuk go to the Steelers or something like that happen, Pearsall is going to just fly up draft boards in redraft, and we'll see people taking him pretty high, I think.
Yeah. I'm just hoping he's not the latest way overdrafted player by the 49ers who never plays. So Trey Lance is victim to that, right?
Oh.
And then I just hope that, Pearsall was probably overdrafted by 20, 30, 40 spots in the NFL draft. So I'm just hoping that San Francisco's front office, we can say at this point, it's probably questionable, right? I mean, they did the whole Trey Lance thing. Now they, took Pearsall way ahead of where they probably had to take him.
So Trey Lance is the only really bad move they've made, though. They've built an amazing team there. Amazing defense, amazing
just
offense.
Draft-wise is what I meant, yeah.
I think even then, though, that besides the Trey Lance pick, that's really the only really horrible pick they've made lately.
Agree. But it's a player we won't talk about today, but there's another move that the 49ers made that make me believe that Debo or Ayuk is not going to be on this team week 1. It was them drafting Jacob Cowing, another wide receiver it was either the 3rd or the 4th round. really nice wide receiver, like him a lot too. When they drafted Pearsall, people were like, "What the hell is
Mm.
going on?" And then you turn around in the third round and you draft another wide receiver, and they re-signed. Help me with his name. He had a good Super Bowl. Their number 3 receiver from last year. They
Oh,
gave him
Juwan
two.
Jennings.
Jawan Jennings. So
Yeah.
come on, man. They gave Jennings a decent contract, and he's been a pretty solid player for them. Something's going on. I'm just gonna assume that Ayuk or Debo is on their way out of town. So I'm probably going to be picking up as much Pearsall as I can before that happens because the writing's on the wall. They're in bad cap trouble. So yeah, Pearsall to the moon. Guys, another fun watch, other than Malik Neighbors, go watch Ricky Pearsall play football. Oh my gosh, what a tape he has. I wrote on here swaggy. Um, Gosh, he's just so fun to watch play. So yep, go check him out. All right. Next up, another player I really am having a hard time forming an opinion on, Xavier Legette. So this guy had, I believe, no more than 300 receiving yards in a season until his 5th year of college football, and then absolutely goes full blown nuclear and is
Yep.
one of the best wide receivers in the NCAA last year. Please tell me what we're looking at here with Xavier Legette because I am lost.
It makes it tough. Usually with your rookies, you want an early breakout. You want like that early breakout season where they go crazy. He's the opposite. I think it's kind of funny that like he's comped to like Jonathan Mingo a lot, who is currently
His
on the
teammate.
Panthers, who they drafted before and hasn't done anything for the Panthers. So I mean, I like that the Panthers seem to go out and get him for Bryce Young to give Bryce Young a weapon. So it makes you think they're going to use him, that the opportunity is going to be there. But we just don't know. I'm not a big fan of him. There is opportunity. But with Carolina, I don't know what to think of their offense. They could just be horrible this year, and he could go the same way as Mingo, where he doesn't see any targets, and he is absolutely nothing. So I'm kind of avoiding him completely. I don't know. How about you?
So the reason I'm not totally out on him is Dave Canales joined the Panthers. Dave Canales absolutely resurrected Baker Mayfield's career. He looks to be the next up and coming offensive genius in the NFL. I really feel that Bryce Young is probably one of the best buys in fantasy football, in dynasty football right now, because he's going for next to nothing. And I really think he has plenty of weapons around him now. He has a better coach. I like the Panthers situation, but Xavier Legette is walking into a situation where he has Adam Thielen, who had a fine year last year. He's getting up there in age, but as long as he's healthy, he's going to play. And then they traded for Deontay Johnson. So you're wide receiver 3 at best. And that's if you can beat out Jonathan Mingo, who played more than 80% of snaps in almost every game last year. So just not loving the opportunity. And there's a lot of things to not like on his in his bio, right? I mean, the things we do love about him, let's not totally knock the guy. DK Metcalf's type size, speed, after the playability, just a mountain of a man here. I guess if you wanted to not, we gave him comps that were on the low end, right? Mingo and Butler. I mean, let's say who he could be. I mean, there's flashes of AJ Brown here, flashes of DK Metcalf type players. So, I mean, is this not like the biggest?
I don't know if he's like the physical specimen that DK is. So I don't know if I'll go that far.
Yeah.
But I think he could be like their perimeter guy, which they didn't really have. I don't know. He's one of those guys where like at the end of your draft, he's like a lotto ticket if you want to take a chance on him. I think he's a high risk rookie option where maybe he could pay off or maybe he's absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So
Agree. Yeah, this guy's going to be signing a really big contract extension in 4 years, or he's not going to be in the NFL.
Yeah.
He's going to be like okay. N'Keal Harry is probably like another good comp, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah. He'll be transferring to tight ends.
yeah. Actually, I could see it. Wow, you just saw the future 4 years ahead. Good
Good.
job.
Problem solved.
All right, Bills fan, we've made it. We've made it
Yeah.
to your part of the show. Keon Coleman goes first pick in the second round, right?
Yeah.
To the Bills. They trade back. I don't even remember how many times. 2 times?
Yeah.
One
I think
time?
it was twice. Yeah. I think so.
Twice. They trade back, but they finally take the wide receiver that all their fans and all the pundits are clamoring for them to take. They end up with Keon Coleman, who probably slots in as their wide receiver one immediately. I think similar to the Chiefs, he'll be their target number two. I think Kincaid's going to step up and kind of be their go-to guy there. But tell me what you think about Keon Coleman and his landing spot.
Yeah. So I put in their best landing spot in the draft. All the fantasy bros were just like salivating as who's going to go to the Bills. We know the Bills have to take a wide receiver. They let go of Diggs. They let go of Gabe Davis. That we know they needed somebody, and we're like, they got to take it. The end of the first round is just a great spot to grab a wide receiver. So everybody was just wondering who it was going to be. It ends up being Keon Coleman, who is maybe not like who everybody wanted to go there. Maybe we were hoping for a better talent, but he can be very good for them. He's going to have the opportunity, which is the most important thing. There's not really, I mean, besides Kincaid, who else are they going to be throwing to? It's going to be Khalil Shakir and Curtis Samuel. So between those guys, you got to think Coleman's got he's a big dude. He's got definitely just the ability to outplay them and be a target hog for Josh Allen, hopefully.
By the way, do love Curtis Samuel this year.
Yeah.
In fantasy, please don't snipe me in our drafts we do together, because I think Curtis Samuel is being slept on this year.
Yeah.
He's just way better at football than Khalil Shakir. So, Coleman's interesting, right? Because I think some people thought at a point he could have been the fourth wide receiver taken in this draft. He ran just obnoxiously slow, 4.61 in the 40. And the knock on him is, the pros we have here are his jump ball and contested catches. The bad part is that is what he has to rely on, is jump balls and contested catches, because he does not create a whole lot of separation. But there's plenty of successful receivers in the NFL that don't need to rely on that, because they are just so good in the air and have such strong hands. And that's what Coleman is known for. So, and there's no other receiver, like you said, on their roster with this skill set, with this size, and with this prowess in interview room. Honestly, the guy is just, have you seen the videos of this guy's interviews? You're kidding.
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think I've seen him. Yeah.
Not
Wait,
the one
no, it's the one with the coat. Yeah, I saw the one.
Yeah, the big yellow jacket. Yeah. And he says,
"Guess where I got this from?"
Yeah.
No,
Well,
it was entertaining.
He said something like, you got a shot for your winter coat in the summer or something like that.
Macy's
Oh my gosh.
on deal at Macy's or something.
Yeah, guy's hilarious. Anyway, he's going to have some top-notch interviews throughout the year. So he's the 101 of interview giver in this year's class. So, Bills fans, I think you got yourself a good one here. I've seen a lot of metrics go around where, yes, he runs a 4.6, in underwear in a straight line, but with GPS on a field, his play speed is actually really fast. And to me, that's what matters, right? It's not how fast you run in a 40-yard dash. It's how fast you move when the play is going on, when your eyes are up, looking at the play. And if you watch him at the combine running the other drills, he's just really, really fluid, has great hands, and can just move really well with a helmet on, with pads on. So I'm not too worried about the speed personally. So I think this is a great pick by the Bills, and I think he'll have an instant impact.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a great X for the Bills, and we'll see him. Josh Allen's going to have somebody blow up, and it's a good chance it'll be him. Definitely worth grabbing in your drafts.
For sure. All right. On to a receiver taken one pick after Keon Coleman, Lad McConkey. Interesting study here, right? Played at Georgia, not much production because there was a lot of injury. I'd even call him a little bit gadgety at Georgia. And just didn't see a whole lot of snaps, not a whole lot of targets, not a whole lot to go off here, except for, nice measurables, smart player, versatile player. Tell me what you like and what you don't like about Lad, because I'm not loving the landing spot. But tell me why I should overlook that.
Well, he did get some rushing yards as well at Georgia. So he has that versatility, which I think the Chargers like. They want someone who can kind of win everywhere, especially because we think they're going to be a little bit more of a run heavy offense there. And it's another one where the opportunity is there. They don't have anybody anymore. It's Josh Palmer and him. And that's it. Quentin Johnson, who we've seen just doesn't have it. I don't think it's going to work out for him. So I think with that, just the opportunity, you take a chance on this guy of him being a top wide receiver. Even with Harbaugh running the ball a lot, they still got to throw sometimes. Like they're going to have to throw. And this guy, he's a good deep threat. Like I said, he's got some of the rushing experience. Maybe they use him that way a little bit. I'm curious to kind of see what happens. And I think we put in their high target share. When someone is projected to get that kind of target share, you grab them and see what happens and see if he's a top wide receiver for you.
Yeah, I'm seeing that he's going ahead of Brian Thomas and Keon Coleman in some drafts. Is that what you're seeing? On Fantasy Pros, they show a higher ADP for him, and I just don't think I could get behind that. I'd rather have Keon Coleman and Brian Thomas than McConkey, just because of the situation. He's probably wide receiver 2 on that team in a very, very run heavy offense. So
I definitely like Brian Thomas more. I think I have kind of him, Worthy, and Keon Coleman all next to each other. I think you could pick any of them and hope one of them just breaks out this year. So I kind of have them in that same kind of range. Just I think the opportunity for all of them is pretty similar.
Yeah, sounds good. So yeah, someone will take in fantasy drafts, but doesn't really have the elite upside due to the limited offense that he's in, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. Next guy, another polarizing player here. And man, I'm really heavily on one side of the poll, and I'm going to let you talk first because I don't really have differing opinions on this guy. I'm very much one-sided, so I'm going to hear what you say first. Tell me about Adonai Mitchell.
So his big problem is the opportunity there. He's playing behind Pittman. He's playing behind Downs. And we think it's going to be a run-heavy offense. They've got Anthony Richardson's going to be running. They got Jonathan Taylor's going to be running. That's where we have some trouble. And then he was also, Adam Schefter kept saying he was going to go top 15 in the draft or something. It kept coming out. He was going to go higher and higher and higher. And then he fell so far in the draft from where he was supposed to go. And they're saying it's, maybe character issues. We're not really sure. The one thing I will say is we put on there, he's got the upside. I think we could see, it could be like a DK Metcalf situation where all these teams passed on him. Right. And he comes out and he's this amazing X wide receiver that just breaks out. I just think the chances of that happening are pretty low because Pittman takes such a huge amount of the target share there. And then Josh Downs is already kind of the slot guy too. So he's going to get his. So that doesn't leave a lot for Adonai Mitchell. I think he's kind of, player comp put on there, Alec Pierce. I think he's a better version of Alec Pierce. The the Colts went out and said, like, we took Alec Pierce. He wasn't as good as we thought. We're going to take AD Mitchell because he's a better version of Alec Pierce, which is what they wanted. So I think potential's there. I just think it's the probability of him actually hitting his ceiling is pretty low. So for that reason, I'm kind of passing on him this year. I don't know. What was your thoughts?
Yeah, everything you said is fair. Probability of hitting his ceiling, I would say low. Yes. But my thing with Adonai Mitchell is the ceiling is wild, right? This guy tested, I think he was the second best wide receiver athlete in RAS score, relative athletic score ever, right? 99.9% athlete. Film guys absolutely drool all over this guy. He did not put up huge production at Texas. He did have stiff competition there with Xavier Worthy. Texas primarily used him on the outside and would kind of use him just in like an X role, like a very pro style role, which I think is good. To me, it's just, I'm salivating over the upside. I know he's not going to have the opportunity. Pittman just got a huge deal. Absolutely love Josh Downs. Anthony Richardson is a run first quarterback. Jonathan Taylor is a top 3 running back in the NFL. I get it. I don't think Adonai Mitchell is going to smash in 2024. It's kind of not what I'm after here. I think that in dynasty type leagues and keeper type leagues, I want as much Adonai Mitchell as possible because, if he sucks, he sucks. He didn't break out in college. He wasn't an amazing producer, but his athletic traits, his route running, his hands, his after the catch, he literally has everything. I cannot help but see CeeDee Lamb when I see him play. So for those reasons, and I'll take the 20% chance, the 10% chance that he's CeeDee Lamb because I think it's there. For a lot of these other receivers, I don't think they have the ceiling like this. So, I'm going to shoot for upside and get as much of this guy as I can.
Yeah, I think he also has potential to end up playing in like 2 wide receiver sets, so he could get some field time because he's as long as he just outplays Alec Pierce and can get on the field for those situations, then he'll have opportunity potentially. So it's there. I just think the chance of him breaking out this year is kind of low, but it could happen. Like I said, it could be like a DK situation where he is like that physical freak like DK is. So I could see that happening there. I just think with the whole situation, it's tough with all, them heavy into rushing. They've already got Pittman and Downs there. It's tough, but it's, again, he's probably pretty cheap to get in redraft this year. So you could stash him late and see what happens.
Yeah, I agree. I think he needs an injury to happen to Pittman or Downs to really see a whole bunch of playing time. But dynasty side, I really like it. If you don't need a produce now player, because I think you got to let him marinate a little bit. All right. That will do it for the wide receiver portion of the show. We have 3 tight ends, and then we are going to let Jeremy watch the rest of the Celtics game.
Yeah, it's close.
All right. Well, we'll run through these real quick. But before we run through them, we need to take a little bit of time on Brock Bowers because Brock Bowers, some think maybe better tight end prospect than Kyle Pitts, and Kyle Pitts is kind of the best tight end prospect of the last 10 to 12 years. So tell me what you think about Brock Bowers. We know the landing spot is just absolute doo-doo, but talent wins out at the tight end position. Tell me why you're super excited about Brock Bowers.
So, yeah, landing spot, not great. No one understands why the Raiders did this. Like, is he a value at that pick because he's so gifted, so well touted? Yes, he was like a good value where they got him. The problem is they spent a high pick on a luxury position where they already had someone there. Michael
Michael
Mayer's
Mayer.
already there. Like, why would you do that? Like, trade back or find someone else. Like, so that doesn't make any sense. But the fact that they did take him and they did spend that pick on him shows you that they're going to use him. And he's not the kind of tight end to block every play. If you get him, you want him to be catching. You want him to be a red zone target. And that's especially where we see tight ends just blow up is when they're catching all these touchdowns. So that's kind of what we're hoping for with him. We're hoping the Raiders use him. We're hoping they have someone competent throwing the ball. Who knows who that's going to be, whether it's Minshew or Aiden O'Connell. But we're hoping they end up using him just as a pass catcher, basically, for the entire time. He does block. He does know how to block. It's just kind of a weird situation with Michael Mayer there in the mix. I think he's going probably around like tight end 10 or so. I want to say in redrafts. Sometimes he goes higher, like around
11.
7. Yeah, sometimes he goes higher around 7. I think like 10 or 11 is good for him because he's got upside, or he could just do nothing this year. It's tough.
Yeah, probably a little too rich for me, given the fact that you just said the names Minshew and O'Connell, and we know that Devontae Adams is there, and he's the definition of target hog, right? You know, pushing 30% target share, and then you also have Jacoby Myers, who has shown that he requires targets, and I don't know, man. A third on the pecking order rookie tight end with a garbage quarterback on a team that's not that good. Yuck, right?
Yeah.
I just hate this for him, right?
Yeah,
Because
it's so disappointing.
what a fun prospect. I mean, we put his comp as George Kittle because, and I'm talking young, angry George Kittle too, because Brock Bowers is just a treat to watch with the ball in his hands. He is just pissed off and just runs people over. It is so cool to watch. I don't know, man, but you know, I think Michael Mayer is the more prototypical tight end size. You know, he's got the 6'5", 6'4", 6'5" height, 260 pounds. You know, in line, hand in the dirt guy. I think there could be some Kincaid ish stuff going on here with Bowers, where he's flexed out, 40%, 50% of the time in the slot, and you get him some screens, you get him the ball in space, hit him on a reverse here and there. I think they're going to be creative because if you don't find a way to manufacture 4 to 5 touches at least for this guy, you're doing it wrong. So I guess tight end 11 or 12 is fair. I just think prepare to be disappointed because it's the Raiders and Devontae Adams is an alpha. So this is tough.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, we'll have to wait and see, but I'm probably passing on him for redraft this year.
Agree. I don't have any shares of him in Dynasty either, unfortunately. I've just never had the situation where I could take him.
Same.
Yeah, I always went with the quarterbacks over him, like May or McCarthy. All right, another hometown boy for you.
Yeah.
I'd say a little bit of a surprising pick, even though I did win money. I had a bet on who tight end 2 in the draft would be. I put a little bit of coin on Ben Sinnott, and lo and behold, he went as a second tight end drafted, mid to end of the second round, and he slots to your hometown Washington Commanders. Tell me about Ben Sinnott.
So it's a great landing spot. There's just really McLaurin there is the only real kind of target share situation. I will say there have been some more rumors coming out that like Ertz is going to have a real role. He's just a lot older though, so it's hard to think he like completely takes over the tight end position, but it might make it a little hard for Ben Sinnott to have the breakout season that everybody thinks he's going to have. People are really high on him right now. I see him kind of going in that like 12 range sometimes, which feels a little high to me for him. But he's going to have opportunity there. He's an athletic guy. He blocks. He's versatile. He does a little bit of everything. He's got good hands. I think he's another guy that he could be a red zone target. He's not anywhere near that Brock Bowers tier, right? He's not anywhere near that level of talent, but he's got opportunity. He's playing with a rookie quarterback. Sometimes rookies like their tight ends. I think he's worth like a shot late in your draft for a tight end. I'm all about taking late tight ends generally in redraft. That's usually been my motto. I'm kind of waiting to see if this year it might change a little bit, because we kind of almost have like a top 7 that you can rely on. And if one of those top 7 tight ends kind of fall, I've been reaching for them a little bit. But generally, I like to take late tight ends and hope we see one of them break out, because every year lately we've seen some breakout late tight ends, and he has opportunity to be one this year.
Yeah, I'm wondering if this is a little bit of I just went totally blank. Sam Laporta effect. Because Sam Laporta,
absolutely.
and he kind of broke the mold last year for rookie tight ends. We've Evan Ingram had a good rookie season. Kyle Pitts had a pretty good rookie season, but we've never seen anyone go off like Sam Laporta last year. So I'm thinking, because Sam Laporta went off in the rookie year, Trey McBride went off at the back end of the rookie year and really went crazy his second year. I think there's just kind of this, I don't want to miss out going on with the rookie tight ends. So I think Sanat is going to be a better NFL player than a fantasy player. So that's why I put his comp as, like an upside Kyle Juszczyk. So Kyle Juszczyk is, longtime Raven, longtime 49er, fullback, tight end type, super valuable when used correctly on an NFL field, 0 fantasy value. I don't think that'll be exactly Ben Sanat's role, but I think there's the chance that that's all he is. So that's where I'm at with him.
Yeah, I think he's got a better shot than that, but he's no Sam Laporta, and you're right. I think the Sam Laporta effect is the right way to put it. It's everybody wants him this year because he was such a great value last year, and he's not going to be that good. It would be really hard for him to be. He would just have to cash all the touchdowns.
Yeah.
But he definitely has a chance to have a real role, and I could see him being, a legitimate 10 overall tight end this year. I think it's within realms for him, just because the opportunity is there, and besides McLaurin, there really isn't anyone else of like talent right now for Jaden Daniels to throw to.
Yeah, I'm with you, man. All right. Last but not least, we have Ja'Tavion Sanders. So Ja'Tavion Sanders went in the 4th round, and I think what makes him somewhat interesting in fantasy football is the landing spot. We have it in the green section here, opportunity to start. So the Panthers just got Dave Canales. Great offensive mind, and the only tight end really on their roster is Tommy Tremble. Tommy Tremble has put up 3 or 4 straight years of about 300 reception yards and 2 touchdowns. Not a guy, right? So Ja'Tavion Sanders comes in with a young quarterback, and guy has really big upside. Great athlete, and what do you think he's going to do year 1?
Yeah, I think he's another last round of your draft dart throw guy to grab for kind of the late tight end strategy. We're not sure about the Carolina situation. The Canales is giving everybody hope that the offense will be better. He will have competition between the running backs, between the wide receivers there. And, we don't know how much start time he's going to get, or if he's going to get passes right away, but he's a huge target of a guy, and he did well for Texas. I think he's kind of a above average, good tight end that happened to go to a good landing spot where hopefully he starts. So again, I think he's one of these late round flyers, and the Kim Senate, and then another one we're not talking about
is Johnson.
Eo Johnson for the Giants. those guys are all guys you can take at the end of your draft and, cross your fingers for the Sam Laporta effect. It's not going to happen, but they could be good enough and be kind of like a, tight end 10, maybe a little higher than that.
Yeah, I think Sanders and Theo Johnson are probably, firmly not getting drafted. But Theo Johnson just became a lot more interesting this week, right? Because Darren Waller retired. Theo Johnson, fourth round tight end from Penn State, got drafted to the Giants. We know the Giants are starved of pass catchers other than Malik Neighbors. And Theo Johnson, kind of seen as like a prospect tight end, not a ton of production at Penn State, but has a chance to start. And if you have a chance to start and you're a tight end, you belong on a fantasy roster somewhere. So keep an eye out for Sanders and Theo Johnson. I think they're definitely going to fly under the radar for being little known players, but nice profiles and have a chance to start. So we're in on that. All right, man, that brings us to the end of the show. Is there any other rookies that, we didn't talk about that you definitely just have to get a word in there, that, they could have an impact this year?
We mentioned a couple of the New England guys. So Jalen Polk and Javon Baker. Someone's got to catch passes in New England. So I think taking a stab at one of those guys late, I'm okay with. For the rest of the guys, there isn't anybody I'm crazy about. Maybe Tyrone Tracy for New York. Devin Singletary just
he's the only guy in the way, right?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, that's kind of it. So, I like taking stabs at guys like that.
I saw today Tyrone Tracy first team snaps in practice. So
there you go.
If Devin Singletary is the only guy in your way, we're all in on ambiguous backfields, and that backfield is terrible. So, we're going to take a shot there. Let me see. I'll throw a few names at you. I'm man crushing big time on Malachi Corley. Wide receiver, went in third round, I believe, to the Jets. How do we comp him? He's like a little bit of like a Deebo Samuel-ish, screen game, slant pass, get him the ball. I think he calls himself the Yak God. So anyway, when I watch him, I think of Randall Cobb and Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback in New York.
Debo a lot too. He gets a lot of Debo sometimes. I was trying to remember. People were saying
Debo, Randall Cobb,
Amari Rodgers,
stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. I feel like Aaron Rodgers just has his guys that he clings on, which is usually not rookie wide receivers, by the way.
Yeah.
But I think the first time you hear Malachi Corley has a connection with Rodgers, or they're on the same page, whatever, go with it, because Rodgers just loves to throw to the same guys over and over again. He picks two wide receivers, and that's his people. So
it's going to be Garrett Wilson. We know that already.
It's going to be Garrett Wilson.
Too good.
And if it's Malachi Corley, then wheels up, baby.
Yeah.
Love the player there.
We talked for a second about Ray Davis for Buffalo. I think that's still an interesting grab. I think he could get the goal line work for them. I think that might be why they grabbed him. So,
dude, he's like almost old enough to be my grandfather. He's 24 years old. That's crazy.
Yeah, he just hit the goal line work. He's just scooping up touchdowns.
No, I'm just kidding. That's a
yeah. We talk about Troy Franklin for Denver. Who knows?
Reunited with Bo Nix there. That's
Bo Nix connection.
Cool.
Yeah.
I think we nailed it, man. Just looking to see if there's any other interesting name
I'll mention Dylan Laub because he went to college just down the street from my house. So UNH guy.
He's a Raiders.
He's with the Raiders, and Zamir White. We don't know if he can carry an entire season yet. So
Alexander Madison's there too now.
Yeah. And Alexander Madison is nobody. So
right. Yeah, I guess I'll just throw out one more name that's just a wait and see. Is Jermaine Burton,
Yeah,
wide receiver
like
from
him.
Alabama. He got drafted by Cincinnati. I'm completely uninterested in Jermaine Burton unless T. Higgins gets traded. So T. Higgins is like holding out ish
Yeah,
right now. So if T. Higgins gets moved, Jermaine Burton has no competition really for the wide receiver 2 job. I mean, I guess like Andre Yasovas,
yeah,
but no.
not
Um,
really. Yeah,
yeah. So, um, yeah, if T. Higgins moves, Jermaine Burton is going to go, I don't know, he's going to skyrocket multiple rounds up drafts, probably like 6, 7 rounds up drafts.
we could see him be the Tyler Boyd there too, where if Chase or T missed a game, Tyler Boyd was immediately startable. He would
Mhm.
usually catch a touchdown or have enough yards, and he could be in that position. I think he went later in the draft due to like character issues. So if he gets over that and is becomes a regular, starter on the team as like the wide receiver 3, then he's definitely interesting. Anyone on that, that offense is interesting.
And let's not forget who always missed games, T. Higgins
Yeah,
and Jamar
that's true.
Chase. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, like him a lot. All right, man. Well, that'll do it. Thanks for coming on and talking rookies with us.
Yeah,
And yeah, thanks. I see there's been a lot of people in here watching us. Thanks for asking questions. Thanks for being part of the conversation. So yeah, fantasy football season is right around the corner. Usually in around July, we start doing mock drafts and fantasy football content where we people usually start doing their fantasy football drafts. So check back in about a month, and Jeremy and I will start giving you some regular fantasy football content.
yeah, and go
Sounds good.
Celtics.
All right, man. Thanks for hanging out. Have a good night.
Later.